Common Filth Radio episode 31. I recorded myself listening to college radio, and we're going to listen to it in just a little bit. If you thought silly girls only talk about silly things on their Tumblr blogs, you thought wrong. You ladies and gentlemen also sent me a lot of questions this week, so quite the mailbag, quite hefty, so we'll see how many of those we can get through. As always, you can check the links below for goodies. If you got Amazon.com purchases, click that affiliate link before you make your purchases. I get a little bit of money from that at no extra cost to you. And we got commonfilthradio.bandcamp.com. Tumblr Raw Volume 1 is available now. 6 exclusive episodes not available on this YouTube channel for $2 or more. Also in the links down there is the link to my interview with the rightstuff.biz on their program Between Two Lampshades, where they interview all sorts of interesting people, and I was the subject of the second episode they did of that. Seventh Son hosted it, and we talked about the Pope, football, Guns N' Roses, and all sorts of other stuff for 40 minutes, so I recommend you check that out. I had a lot of fun doing it. So before we get into this very unique segment, I recorded this on a portable recorder. I was going through a list of college radio stations this afternoon, listening to them, seeing what they had to offer, and most of it was shit, and most of it was shit that I thought I only encountered on the internet, but it really does make sense. All of these bloggers out there with their, this is why I need this is why I need that, fuck the patriarchy, trans misogyny, sexism, it comes from the universities. It's young people status signaling to their invisible audience of uneducated rubes who think, look, I'm going to show you rubes. Think about it. This is what you get in advertising. Girls get college degrees, they go to work for marketing firms. They say shit like pizza rolls, not gender roles, and posted on the Totino's Facebook page. We talked about that on the interview. Yeah, that was a fun subject. I recorded myself for about 30 minutes going through these stations and reacting to what was on them, and I cut it down to about 7.5 minutes because most of it either is stupid, dead air, or is not fit to air on this show. It would get me into a lot of trouble, so I will release the full audio of that eventually, don't worry, but in any case, I cut it down to about 7.5 minutes, so let's listen to it.
Decide and make sure that we're committing our time to people and people and problems that we think we have the ability.
She speaks exclusively in vocal fry.
Well, I know a common misconception is that women are just raped. Would you say that...
Oh boy, here we go.
My question is, do you guys have a lot of guys that are in the organization, or do you find that it's a lot of females that are primarily in it?
We have a good solid, 20% of our members or so are males.
Yeah.
Male identified.
Yeah.
Male
We have
identified.
some really great allies as far as that goes.
Oh my god.
Something that sort of gets looked over as well is
the shit is everywhere.
We work closely with is the Survivor Advocacy Program, which
speaking questions all the time.
Amazing. I actually work for the Survivor Advocacy Outreach Program, which does similar work, but we work with Athens, Meigs, and Perry counties, and hopefully adding on some new.
Turn it down a little bit.
Coming up with our new grant.
Hopefully you can still hear it.
The Advocacy Program works with just students. But they actually, I think, do a lot of amazing work for providing spaces for survivors of sexual assault that don't identify as women.
What about survivors of stair rape?
Some of those groups are, like I said earlier,
Don't discredit their experiences.
By sexual violence.
Blue, blue, blue.
So I think the work they do there is something that we try and
Male identified, 20%.
Our overall goals is.
So what, you got like 15% trannies and 5% omega males looking to get laid in the most dehumanizing, degrading way possible.
All inclusive for anybody affected by sexual violence.
So for our listeners out there who want to join the movement and who want to possibly join FRC, what ways can they go about doing that?
We meet every week on Thursdays at 7 p.m. in the Women's Center, which is located on the 4th floor of Baker. We also have presence on social media. We have a Facebook page for OUFRC, as well as we're on Instagram.
I wonder how many likes they have.
Twitter. I think the Twitter handle is.
I bet I have like way more.
FCK Rape Culture.
Okay. I just want to say
Rape culture.
Thank you so much, Alyssa and Claire, for coming in and talking about something that's definitely difficult for a lot of people to even talk about, and to have an org that you guys are a part of
It's not difficult to talk about if you're getting a lot of attention for it.
Thank you so
That's
much
all they
for
want,
joining us.
really.
Have a good one.
Now, I'm not saying Samantha's not a real witch. I am no arbiter of witches. But when I was standing there staring
What's
at
your
her statue,
point?
I was trying to think if I'd ever actually watched an entire episode of Bewitched. And I realized I never connected with
This is boring.
because, well, she'd never actually been marketed to me. And
Oh boy.
the witches that
That's
were
what matters.
were Willow from Buffy and those badass bitches from The Craft. And what's most interesting in that, I think, is that
Here we go.
points to in terms of shifting female identities and how, especially since the 1990s,
The worst time.
women, or other people as well, have been sold empowerment. So popular representations
There we
of
go.
witches are two-faced.
There we go.
Green and cackling and on a broomstick, or they're these ethereal, beautiful human beings who appear and grant witches. And they also, it should be noted, almost always conform to Western beauty standards, being white and thin, especially in the cases of the good witches.
Yeah, because being thin isn't completely universal, huh, lady?
Which it's pretty much canonized in 1939's The Wizard of Oz, but it's also reflective of a really common trope that women's identities often get thrown into, which is Madonna horror complex, but here there are wands. So Samantha is one of those popular witches of all time. Bewitched ran from 1964 to 1972. There are countless marketable items that were spun off from it, and she remains fairly iconic. She was a witch who married a mere mortal New York ad exec, and she primarily uses her powers to cope with sort of whatever domestic woes crop up. So in one episode, her husband breaks his ankle or something, and she uses her powers to
You know,
sort of
I don't understand. You watch too much TV, you watch too many movies, and you can get a radio show for doing it.
But at the end of the day, it's really about like keeping that nuclear suburban family together.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
So that the show was immensely popular isn't all that surprising when you think about when it aired. This was the birth of second wave feminism, and here was a series that diluted the powerful figure of the othered witch to basically a domestic goddess. So coming of age in the 1990s, as I did, or being a tween then, I saw a really different kind of witch. I saw the girl power witch. So she was empowered, but still distanced enough from radical feminism to be marketable to a broader audience. Put another way, by Helen Berger and Douglas Essie in Mass Media and Religious Identity, a case study of young witches. It's a fascinating read.
She has an audience.
Media depictions of witchcraft since 1996, The Craft was a watershed moment, could be described as having similar effects as product placement advertising. So witches, from the 1990s on, became super sellable, and they also became super cool.
This is what your daughter's going to
So
become.
if Samantha was selling magic domestic bliss in the early 70s,
She's gonna go on college radio and drone on about television.
kind of we're pointing to this troubling trend of individualization that's fractured many modern collective movements, especially feminism. Again, to cite Berger and Essie, older forms of witchcraft tend to be practiced in covens. Since the middle of the 1990s, witches have become more individualistic, with the majority of practitioners tending to practice on their own as solitaries. Now, this was pretty much predominant in the representations that we saw in a lot of popular 90s witch shows. If you think of the ties that bind people in something like Sabrina the Teenage Witch or Charmed, it's bloodlines, not choice-based covens, which I think is
I bet you this girl is in grad school, and
so this sort of eye above all.
she's going to become a professor teaching media studies or some shit.
Feminist mentality, which is that we've done it all. We don't actually need to be a collective anymore because we can buy a handbag and a car. And
We've done what?
Consumerism is the be-all and end-all of empowerment. Or, as the brilliant Nina Power says in her magnificent treatise One Dimensional Woman, it points to the rise of
Consumerism is what you've done with it.
any systemic
What you've done with your
part
liberation.
of today's upbeat feminists. It's basically all for one and none for all. But maybe we don't want to throw this idea of the coven out with the cauldron water.
Boo.
Many of these witches from these shows that I loved are more
This
complex
woman
than
is
their popular
crying out in despair.
We cater to the love, you know. We got it on lock.
Man, boy love.
Next we have
So there you have it. This is why websites like Campus Reform are operating under completely flawed premises. You're assuming that how something can be said can be removed from what is said, and it just can't be. People who depend on other people for their income, for their salary, for their living, are going to end up this way. And everybody in a public university depends on the taxpayer. To some extent, tuitions at public universities are lower. And even in private universities, they still depend on people paying that tuition, banks putting forth those loans. The public sector doesn't give a shit about efficiency, so this is why you see all sorts of horrible, horrible people in the public sector, because they're accountable to nobody. Their dysfunction is incentivized, probably because they're a part of some union that extorts more taxpayer money out of the largesse that is the American economy, for the sake of raising their salaries. I find it funny that the most technically dependent people are the ones that drone on loudest about how they're an independent woman and how they can support themselves. And they usually work for universities talking about Bewitched and the craft and how it relates to feminism. And this applies to everyone, this notion of an independent person, because I think a truly independent person is somebody who would be able to survive if society were to collapse. If there was no more money, no more institutions, no more of this bullshit that props up these people's lifestyles just because they exist and they have the right opinions. That tough son of a bitch who cuts down trees, he's independent. He's strong enough to manhandle somebody for his resources. I want that guy on my team. I don't want the professor on my team. And in all of this excitement, I forgot that I'm doing a read-through of the fuckboy tag on Tumblr. I'm sure we're going to see a lot of normal shit, just generic, I hate you, you broke my heart, you fuckboy, stuff like that, but I was told that there's a lot of idiocy to be found on this tag, so we'll see what happens. And if you want to hear me read a specific tag, vote on which one you'd like me to read for episode 32. I have that in the links below as well. So with all that being said, let's get into questions. This was sent by email from our friend Han. Hey, Common Filth, hope everything is going great and your 30th episode was amazing. I'm pretty sure I sent you a note on Bandcamp when I bought your Tumblr East as Raw, and it said something to the effect of $5 for Common Filth fans against dog fuckers. Hopefully it gives you a good laugh. That is really funny. The question this time being, what is your opinion on Dr. Phil or shows similar to that one? Do you think it's helpful to show other families' issues / problems on TV like they do on the show? The timing of this question is actually pretty funny because I posted recently that daytime talk shows are proof that the lower classes are worthy of no social, political, or cultural quarter. I've actually never watched a full episode of Dr. Phil. The only bit of Dr. Phil I've ever seen is that kid slapping his mom and saying, "It's my body, I can do what I want with it." It's making very proto-feminist arguments there. My preferred daytime television talk shows are the trashier types like the Bad Boyfriend shows that Steve Wilkos and Maury Povich do. You are the father, you're not the father. I don't understand. I might have said something about this one time or another, but I cannot fathom these women who go on there like 10 times and still can't find the father of their child. What kind of illness is that? Where there's only so much of a window that you can get pregnant within. It's only a couple of days. And yeah, the sperm can survive for a certain amount of time in the woman's system, but I can't fathom how much sex you'd have to have, how many different dudes jizzing in you in order for that to happen, in order for that to be a problem. That is just completely revolting. And to add to the shame of all of that, you go on television multiple times for whatever amount of money they're paying you to come on their show. I can't imagine how shameful of a person you could be in order for you to think, yeah, that's a good idea. I sincerely, genuinely feel bad for these people and their lot in life, because Their lot in life is a function of their impulses. This is a almost universal trait in the lower classes that they are impulsive. They lack that part of their brain that feels shame and hesitation. There's something very obvious that the blank slate advocates don't understand, and it's this. If there is no impulse, if there is no passion, if there is no initial impulse or passion anywhere, if there is nothing inherent about anybody to do anything, we'd all just be standing around doing nothing. We'd all be in fetal position all the time. The gatekeepers of the culture either overlook, ignore, or obscure this fact, and they mostly obscure it. They don't want you to know that people are inherently unequal, unbalanced, and there needs to be a fulfillment of roles, and some roles are lesser. It doesn't make you a bad person, it just makes you what you are. That's just what you are. It means nothing more than you don't have the capacity to be an astronaut or a doctor. You do have the capacity, however, to change oil, fix tires, change tires, etc. You still fulfill a very important role in society. It's just easier to do. Doesn't say anything about who you are as a person, but everyone accepts this egalitarian premise that everyone is the same in ability and capacity, and if somebody's unequal, somebody must be making somebody unequal. And I think a lot of dysfunction we see now in the culture is a result of this ignorance towards this basic fact that certain people have certain impulses, and certain impulses are destructive. Maybe people end up on these talk shows and end up looking for their baby daddy after 10 attempts because they make bad decisions. That thought never enters the egalitarian death cultist's head. Because what would that imply? That would imply some inferiority in some aspect that was not imposed on the person expressing that inferiority. And if you realize that somebody renders themselves a victim through nobody's fault but their own, the victim-aggressor worldview crumbles. The oppressor worldview, it cannot be. It cannot make any sense. And that is why you see so many of these people dyeing their hair blue and lashing out in other more strange ways. There are far more strange things than dyeing their hair, but it's an expression of something. It's an expression of some sort of error occurring in their head between what they think and what is. So thank you for the question, even though I'm sure you're not thanking me for the answer because I didn't really answer it, but thank you all the same. Anyway, next question. This is from Lydia. I'd like to start by saying you're a very great man, have a very big and genuine heart for all of your fans. I am a 19-year-old female of Ukrainian and Russian stock, immigrated and living in California and dying from the disease known as cultural Marxism. College sucks. What profession do you recommend taking on for a young idealist with great potential to do the most good for the community, for our community? Assume that I have the criteria to infiltrate and get accepted to any university in the nation. I was thinking of professorship to college students, history or something or other. Not sure if viable merchants at some point could take my professorship/tenure for controversy, or medical school, neurology wing, having a big family, land, and a horse being the end goal, and securing my children's future. Thank you for your kind words and the question. I believe that neurologists make comfortable six-figure salaries, so if land is your goal and having a family and a horse to put on that land, then neurology, you'll definitely get there quicker than you would being a professor. The only concern that I have with the medical school path would be the fact that medical school is a lot more demanding than becoming a professor, and juggling medical school and a family would be incredibly difficult. And again, I don't know your personal situation, so feel free to modify this as you see fit. And I bring this up because it's more difficult to have children past the age of 27, 28, somewhere in that area. Once you're past your late 20s, then having children becomes less feasible unless you have your eggs frozen. But from a purely financial standpoint, becoming a neurologist is a really good idea because depending on whether you're a physician or a surgeon, you're making from 200K to 500K. That's about the median salary from what I could tell in researching for this question. So even if you're at the lower end of that scale, once you become a doctor and you're making 200,000 a year, assume the government takes half of that, you could still throw 50K a year into bonds or mutual funds, which is what I would do. But again, seek a financial advisor's advice once you get to that point. Judging from your email, you're already fed up with the amount of leftist drivel you have to put up with on a daily basis. And becoming a professor, you have to put up with that times two. Grad students are way further down the rabbit hole of deviancy than the regular college student is. And with medical school, I don't know how much of that there is, but I'm certain there's a lot less of it given the serious nature of what is being studied there. So all things considered, you should definitely put yourself in position to get into medical school after you do your undergrad. The money you'd be making as a doctor would go a longer way into fulfilling your goals than being a professor would. This next question is from Stacy. Hey CF, if you're reading this on Tuesday, that means Jenny Death is out today. Is it hypocritical to hate the sewer that is our culture but enjoy music that comes out of that sewer like death grips? No, I don't think so. You can't hate everything, and I've said before that I enjoy death grips, so... And I'm not reading this on a Tuesday, but this podcast releases on Tuesday, so after I upload this, I think I have an idea of what I'll be listening to. I think that it would be hypocritical if you were enjoying something like interior semiotics or any of the shit that gets put into modern art museums. If you enjoyed that kind of stuff, then that would definitely be hypocritical. This next question is from Webb. What do you think of people who see the world the way it is and don't want to be a part of it or a part of fixing it? Basically what I'm asking is, do you think people killing themselves because they have no interest in the world or what the world can be? Do you think they should seek help and that it's all just a state of mind, or that they should go ahead and shut it off if they want to? I think that the act of suicide is pretty arrogant because it assumes that your life is your own when purely that is not the case. Of course, you have the plurality of your life. You have to live day to day. You have to put up with boredom, pain, whatever. But people have to realize they have family, friends, acquaintances, and other people who might depend on them. And that is why suicide is arrogant and selfish. So even if you don't want to be a part of the world and you don't want to contribute to the world, you can't escape that reality. It's something we all have to do by virtue of us being born into the world. The only thing we can do is change our perspective of it. We have to find an aspect of the world we like, an aspect of the world that we find moral and virtuous, and ignore the rest of it. Focus on that part of the world. Focus on improving that part of the world, sustaining it, conserving it, and so on. And I think that is what most people do, but unfortunately an increasing number of people put stock in things that are either unimportant or actively destructive. And I'm of the opinion that America in particular is one of these places that is largely focused on unimportant or destructive things. American culture is horrible. I have profound issues with it because it seems that while the West at large has declined, America in particular is the only place that actively embraces sin and reframes it as virtue. So if America becomes the thing you want to see improved or sustained, and you don't like its current state, then of course I understand these thoughts of depression and suicide. However, you have to let go of the notion that America is going to become anything noble anytime soon, and find a very small portion of it that is, if you happen to live in America. But no matter where anybody lives, America or not, suicide is a horrible thing because it leaves this void. It passes off the blame for whatever personal failings you have on anybody else, whether perceived or real, whether imagined or real. Because even if the people around you weren't to blame for the pain you were experiencing, the pain that you found so unbearable that you had to remove yourself from existence, the people around you are going to think, God, it was my fault. Whose fault could it be? I'm here, they're not here. So I think people who remove themselves from existence because they can't find anything and they see the world as a whole rather than individual parts, and maybe it is a whole, but people say that depression is irrational. I think happiness is irrational too, but if your happiness is a product of you putting into something that you find worthwhile, something that you find to be moral, then I don't see what's wrong with that. Next question. Hey, CF, I was listening to episode 18 of your show and you brought up something that caught my interest. You mentioned something about knowing how to talk to women and leading them. I'm afraid that I have allowed insecurities and my desire to have a girlfriend/wife to take control and make me into a beta. I'm not entirely sure how to talk to women. I end up being their friends and the women I do attract are no good for me. I've only had one girlfriend and it was a train wreck from the beginning. How do I stop being the nice guy without driving someone away? Also, how do I do this in the context of a God-centered relationship? The problem with answering a question like this is that there's no one crazy trick to do in order to attract a woman with whom you can spend the rest of your life. But I think there is one thing that will definitely help you get on the right track with regard to finding such a thing, and that's to become a leader. And I've said last week, I believe, that or some other week, I don't remember, that you should analyze your behavior and see the outcomes of that behavior. And if you don't like the outcomes of that behavior, reverse the behaviors. Behave in the exact opposite. Start thinking in the exact opposite way that you've been thinking. And I'll read the line from your email again here. You said, I'm afraid that I have allowed insecurities in my desire to have a girlfriend/wife to take control and make me into a beta. Well, the solution here is to remove the insecurities in whatever way you possibly can and take charge. Because despite what everybody says, women want to be led. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to boss her around and be some tyrant, but it means that she has to feel like there is a competent guiding hand in her life. And make yourself that competent guiding hand. And I think you do have some vague idea of how to talk to women. It's just a matter of becoming better at talking to them. Because if you're able to develop friendly relationships and attract no good hoes into your circle, then, there is some level of functionality going on there with respect to communication with the opposite sex. But the underlying issue with all of this is definitely the fact that you want the woman to lead. And it's like in the emo song back in, 2005, 2006 said, girls already have a pussy, they don't need another one. And how exactly does that happen? How do you become a leader, a competent guiding hand? Well, I honestly think that it's an intuitive thing. Like I said, there's no one trick that you can do. It's simply a wholesale attitude change that really can't be attributed to any one factor other than you becoming a better man. You feeling intuitively like you are becoming a better man. Whether you're getting better at being more interesting, better at conversing, becoming more skilled, becoming more sociable. You gotta have goals, and those goals have to lead you somewhere. And once you achieve those goals, you will start to gain an inner confidence that girls can just detect. Most of my listeners, if my demographic statistics are to be believed, most of my listeners are males 18 to 24 years old. Now, in that time, you can definitely attract women for the purpose of sex, but it's a little harder to keep them around because at that age, you haven't really achieved anything yet. You have no real accomplishments. You have no reason to be confident. You can put forth a pretense of confidence, but you don't really feel it inside. It's very flimsy. It's all very hollow. But as you get older and as you achieve things that age generally brings, if you're putting forth the effort, then you will start attracting girls who want someone with their shit together. And the God part of this equation is actually the easiest part. All you have to do is be upfront with the ladies that are interested in you, that you are a man of faith, and that you expect that the woman in your life is also a person of faith. So that's really all I can say with regard to that subject. So it will come in time. The things you seek will come to you in time, just by virtue of how men age. Last email we got is from Jay. Not a question, but I wanted to let you know a friend of mine invited me to go with him to church, which I had not been to in about a decade. I reluctantly accepted, but I'm glad I did. It was a great experience, and I've been going ever since. Had I not listened to your show, I probably wouldn't have given it any thought or outright declined. I just wanted to say thanks for indirectly encouraging me to become involved in that. As always, keep up the good work. God bless. Definitely very happy to hear that, and I'm glad you went, and don't forget to thank your friend in time as well. Now let us move over to the Ask FM questions. Listening to your previous episode about the gym story got me thinking, when will all this backfire? Just imagine if a woman sues a gay man for transphobia for not dating her even though she identifies as a man. This whole transgenderism is idiotic. I actually would like to see that happen in order for the contradictions to put off the rest of the population and see just how strange these people are and how deviance leads you down a path of confusion and destruction. Next question says, what do you think of race realism/racialism, if you're familiar with it? I am a race realist. I would consider myself one because I acknowledge the fact that there are differences, inherent differences that are independent of any social environment influence. And I think that because of those inherent differences, certain incompatibilities reveal themselves if two different races are allowed to be in close proximity with one another. We are seeing the effects of that in full here in America. So I like a lot of what race realists say because they can intelligently lay out the case as to why multicultural societies always descend into dysfunction. I mean, unless you think that Brazil and America are functional, which I do not. We got a follow-up here from a person who sent a question last week. Hey, thank you for answering my small penis question. I knew you would give me the most practical advice, and now I am more hopeful that I'll find someone in the future. Thank you very much, CF. Yeah, no problem. And if you want additional advice, Seventh Son on the interview we did, he said that people in your situation should also look for the girls that have no point of comparison. And if you want to know what I mean by that, just go and listen to the interview. It's linked below. So when does the Filth Wave album drop? This is another question. I have a Vaporwave album out that I've actually included in one of the previous episodes, and I'm not going to tell you what it is because I don't want you sending money to that account because I forgot the email and password for it, but it exists, but you have to go look for it. Next up, what's your opinion on Hitler and the Nazi Party? Granted, they weren't the evil six Gorillion, killing baby, eating elder, murdering people that all the Jews try to paint him as, but they weren't by any standards the nicest of people. My opinion on Hitler's Germany has nothing to do with how they treated Jews, how they didn't treat Jews, how nice they were, how nice they weren't. The Nazi significance to me comes from the fact that Britain and America opposed them, when for all practical purposes, they should have been on the side of the Third Reich. They chose more values, more freedom over the future of their children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren and so on. They chose the values that would ultimately end up in the lobotomization of Western civilization. Next one, do you think it's a bad idea to get into a romantic relationship with someone who doesn't share the same fundamental views as you? Yes, but if you're a man and you want to get into a relationship with a lady, you should look at her views with respect to what she does. If she says one thing and is basically a decent person, then you should pretty much ignore it. And if you are strong enough in yourself, she will eventually come to adopt your views. That's just generally how it goes. But for something like sexual loyalty, if you value sexual loyalty and she does not, then obviously you gotta turn the other way and look elsewhere. Next one, why don't you approve of consensual homosexuality amongst adults? Well, like I said on a previous episode, the fact that adults consent to an act does not render that act moral. Let's take an act that is popular amongst homosexuals, like bug chasing. And if you want to know more about that, type in HIV/AIDS documentary into YouTube, and it should have the same title. The documentary is actually called The Gift, and it is horrifying. But basically what bug chasing is these guys, they're like, oh, pause my neg hole, which means make me HIV positive. I'm tired of living in fear of being HIV positive, so once I have it, I'll be able to have all of this consequence-free sex, and that mindset should set off alarm bells, because nothing good comes from basing your life around sex and placing a premium on it. Now, some of these guys, they don't consent to get HIV, but there are a lot of parties that go on where they're called conversion parties, and they're featured in this documentary where you go to this party knowing that you're going to get railed by some dude that has HIV. Now, that's a consensual act. And just because it's consensual doesn't mean it doesn't impact society at large. Because that person is going to have to take a whole host of medications to stay alive, to maintain a standard of living that is close to what they had before they were infected with the disease. And this redirects resources in a dysfunctional way. Somebody who intentionally infects themselves with some ailment in a sane society should be quarantined and left for dead, and not given any of these meds. But no, since we live in the society that we live in, they get their meds, and they get to be free. And now you might be thinking, well, not all of them do that. Well, 80% of them, by most accounts, do engage in anal sex, and it's shown that those who engage in frequent anal sex are more likely to have anal cancer in their lifetime. Not something a lot of people get. Not to mention prolapses and perforated colons and so on. Things that aren't typically a health issue for a great number of people. Something that is typically very rare amongst the rest of the population. In a sane society, none of its finite resources would be directed in any significant capacity to treat these things, but here we are. So I don't subscribe to the consenting adults bullshit, because there's no action that just affects those consenting to the action. Next up, what's your favorite Facebook page? I have a lot of them. I have no one favorite Facebook page, so I'll begin to list off a few that I can remember. I'll take this opportunity to give shoutouts to the Happen Watch. Happen Watch, the Happen Apocalypse, I think that's what it's called. Let me check here. Yep, the Hap Apocalypse. Excuse me. And you also have Skrillex is Overrated and Stuff, Chapter 2. There's a table singing I Am James Hetfield. Difficulty, that's one of my new favorites. Who else? Trying to think. Oh yeah, and the Hulkamaniac Juggalo Brony Bro Army. That's a hilarious page as well. And it's funny because I have a question here that says Hulk Hogan or John Cena. Well, obviously I'm going with Hulk Hogan because I want to be a Hulkamaniac. Have fun with my family and friends. And the last of the Ask of Them questions, and we'll get into the reading of the Fuckboy tag. What's your response to the common argument, if it doesn't affect you, why do you care? I kind of already addressed this in a way, but you could say that the things that apparently don't affect you do affect you, and you can say, this is why, here's this, this, and this that do affect me indirectly or directly, either way. Or you can say that there's a lot more at stake than just me. This is the course of civilization we're talking about. I am just one person with very specific preferences and needs. There are things that are beyond me, that don't necessarily affect me, that are still very important, that they go a certain way. Okay, are you ready to read through the fuckboy tag? I am. Let's do it. Apparently, if a parent leaves the other parent, it means they also lose all the children. New development, guys. I don't know what that means. Ben Nye face paint has a color called Ogre Green, and it is the perfect color for my Fiona cosplay. Conclusion: Ben Nye is a Shrek-loving fuckboy. Great. When you have a nice jawline. Oh, you have a nice jawline, but you can't understand the concept of no, so go away. Fuckboys, they're everywhere. When you hang with a dude once, he's all about you, then doesn't answer a text. The fuck, man? Don't call me amazing, then bug off. Don't play me like that. See, what did I tell you this was gonna be? Really confused as why homeboy's flexing so hard on trying to lie to me. Again? Like, what the fuck? Why do I literally never learn from my mistakes? Because you follow your tingles. Fuckboys never change, and you, honest to God, can't even bother to expect them to. Homie will never change his pussy, chicken, shit, weak-ass bitch boy's ways. Really funny that I wasted yet another breath on the motherfucker. Bye, so annoying, over it. So you posted this even though you're over it. You posted this even though you're over it. Okay. I see just a bunch of pictures that I'm not going to bother to let load here. A nice guy is just a fuckboy who can't get laid, so fuckboys do get laid. So why do they hate these guys so much? Probably because they do get laid and they realize, oh god, I'm stupid. He doesn't actually care about me. Maybe I should have offered more than just sex. Maybe I should have deprived myself of my lust for at least a temporary period of time. Today I tried to explain to a fuckboy that gender is different from sex. Let's see her, she's very small girl with expressive eyes who makes cute noises and hums all the time. I'm an Aries and I like to stomp on boys' hearts by telling them that gender is different from sex. It's not how you do it. Step up. Me at the gym lifting. Random fuckboy. You should try lifting 40. That looks too hard for you. Me, blank. Random fuckboy, blank. You should try me. You should try fucking off and shutting your mouth, or is that too hard for you? Me continues lifting. These girls think they live in a snarky sitcom where everybody says perfect things all the time. Next one. Okay, so fuckboy's at my apartment and won't leave. What the actual fuck? Well, why did you invite him? Here we go. Their profile says bisexual, Michigan, 22, cat lover, hockey, baseball, feminist, college student. Ask me anything. You know, it's as if and she has like a horrible Skrillex haircut. I forgot what I was gonna say. Fuck it. Scrubs. Screenshots from that stupid. And this girl responding to a fat chick on The Sims, and the caption is patriarchy, and she says, feminism is not misandry. If you're going to make fun of a group that has historically been oppressed women, at least try to understand the difference. Okay. Fuckboy is kind of offensive. Why is everyone hopping onto this? For feminism? Because the last time I checked, degrading the opposite sex with a tag like that kind of makes you a hypocrite. If it was guys doing this, there would be a rally for feminism right outside my door with chicks picketing the death of the creator. Just saying. Oh, you poor, poor dear. You have no idea what you're up against, do you? You cannot play nice with any of these people. That's why you must be anti-egalitarian. It's the only answer. It is the antidote to all of this bullshit. A guy at school one time asked me, why don't you grab my cock? Me, I didn't bring any tweezers. Again, they think they live in this sitcom because they watch too many TV shows and too many movies. Boy, what are you doing? Studying. Damn, that sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. I've been told that thinking about this cool, down-to-earth kid by the name of Brian is a good studying tool. Light bulb emoji, ghost emoji, fist emoji, okay hand emoji. What are you complaining about? Once a fuckboy tried to explain what a fuckboy was to me. He was so wrong. I'm still trying to figure this out myself. This one says, this girl in my physics class has been having problems with this guy. Just the average racist, sexist, homophobic Texan fuckboy. That is also in our physics class. And today she looked my dead in the eye and said, please talk shit about him. Well, if you insist. It's like these people view everyone exclusively in caricatures. And this is coming from somebody, this post is from somebody that has a cartoon icon avatar thing. I'm convinced that these people just need to stop watching so much TV, and half of their odious personalities, what makes their personality so shit, would probably improve a little bit. But, quote, girls shouldn't lie about having orgasm, unquote. IDK, but I would rather lie than having to hear a 15-minute monologue about, but all my other partners have had orgasms with me, and okay, my dick isn't huge, but it is not small either, and I'm really good at sex. Please tell me I am great at sex. You won't hear that. It's not as if. These people don't interact with real people. And this is coming from somebody who, a 20 years old Brazilian living in Mexico. The cancer is spreading there too. The virus is spreading there because this girl, she looks pretty white, and she has this garish blue hair that looks awful. And somebody wrote a Bic pen on themselves. Fuck bye to the fuck boy. Maturity. I accidentally liked the post of a sexist, homophobic attention seeker, and now they have followed me. No, God, no. Sure, accidentally. It was an accident. What were you doing there anyway? Why were you following them? That's about the only thing that could explain that occurrence. If you know I'm gay and continue to hit on me, I have full permission to fuck with you. The passes are coming from inside your brain. When you send a guy a nude and he replies with thanks. Take note, guys. That's what you gotta do. Man, that is funny. Finding a Drake in a sea of Chris Browns. This is getting funnier as I scroll down. Don't let stupid boys make you sad. Well, then don't let them make you sad. Don't post about it. Fuck boy is actually my favorite word. Let's check this profile. 21 from Canada and Aries. What is with astrology and these people? It doesn't mean anything. I love the term fuckboy so much. The very first time I heard it, I realized just how perfect and fitting it is. Been waiting all my life for such perfection. And this girl, no, nothing interesting on her profile. Tumblr girl, I love people of all races and genders and sexualities. Tumblr girl makes post making fun of straight white boys. Stereotyping is wrong and degrading. Tumblr girl is in public and sees a white guy with a backwards pack. Oh my god, he looks like... Oh, backwards cap. Oh my god, he looks like such a fuckboy. Again, egalitarianism is a poison. Quit adhering to it. Then you'll realize that these people are inferior to you. When a guy knows you smoke. Him, do you smoke weed? Me, yeah, why? Him, 'cause we'd be cute together. Oh, that's pretty funny for a degenerate pickup line. You're hot when you're bitter. Who's hot when they're bitter? If you wear this shirt, you're a fuckboy. And it says, cool story, babe, now make me a sandwich. These people are really easy to make angry. Like, alarmingly easy. Fuckboys of OKC. And they're, I accidentally hovered over their name. Their profile says 25 years old, married, bisexual, and polyamorous. Take a moment there. Chew on it. Realize what is out there. But can people stop saying fuckboy because that was originally a term used for trans people in prison who were fuckable? Oh, so now the word is transphobic. When a fuckboy calls you beautiful. Unfollows everyone that uses the phrase fuckboy. So unfollows literally everyone. Sits here alone. Ah, finally this website is tolerable. I don't think that this is this website's biggest problem, to be honest with you, but whatever. You are not a fuck toy for your average white fuckboy. Me. They're quoting themselves. Good job, Molly. I'm gonna take a screenshot of that. Great job. Quote, lukewarm love. Like, literally, what the fuck are you? Are you full of shit? And these are in the hashtags. Lukewarm love to you too, buddy. How do you even come up with this kind of metaphorical deep meaning shit? What the fuck? Who are these people talking to? It's as if... never mind. Fuck boys and fuck girls everywhere. I'm not sure what's more upsetting. The fact that I could guess your exact actions before you made them, or that I was still hurt by them in the end. Well, okay. Don't be a fuckboy. How can I not be something when I don't know what it is? Just seems to me that these people have personal vendettas, and that's why they're using this word. There is honestly not as much gold as I was hoping for here, because it's just such a general... I just accidentally hovered over one of these blog names again, and it says, I'm Bree, 16, pansexual feminist aesthetic blog. And what do they have to say? I lost them. Never mind. What's up with all these Tumblr cats saying fuckboy? Y'all sound lame as fuck. 3 years ago, none of you were saying that shit. Now that shit is cool or something. Please stop. Y'all are timid as fuck. You look dumb. Slightly agree. Old picture in my favorite fuckboy's car. My face, selfie. But I miss him. But still, fuck him. If you want girls to think about you, I guess you gotta be a fuckboy. Lots of scorned vaginas here. Fuckboy is my favorite word. Yeah, I've heard that before. I don't care about your screen. Every time I see a screenshot of somebody's phone, my eyes gloss over. It's like I don't give a shit about your phone. It's like this decade's version of chat logs, where someone would copy and paste their chat logs from AOL Instant Messenger. Go like, I'm not reading this shit. Fuck off. Some asshole broke my sister's heart, and I want to punch him in his dick. She's too good for you. Well, maybe she shouldn't have put herself in such a position to get her heart broken. Ever consider that? I love my boyfriend because he hands me the snacks I want when I'm too lazy to get out of bed. And you tagged this with fuckboy. Why? Alright, let's do one more quick scroll through, see if we can find something good, because I have... Hobbies include planting the seeds of fear in fuckboys' hearts. What does your profile say? Nothing, thank God. You've spared yourself the indignity. If he's over 18, is a fuckboy a fuck man? And this is a 16-year-old with two hairy dudes making out with each other as his avatar, icon, whatever. I love the word fuckboy. After so many years of constantly hearing slut, skank, whore mainly used as insults against women, wait, you're constantly hearing these things. Why would you be constantly hearing them? If you yourself are not a slut, skank, or whore, you wouldn't hear this too often. I don't hear it too often, because I don't hang out with these kinds of people. So, think about that. It's great to have one specialized insult for men. It's great that we're coming together to call out annoying, perverted, irrelevant men by calling them fuckboys. I love it. More, please. So wait, it's okay if a guy is perverted, but if you call a girl one of these things you're talking about, that's not okay? Even though the behavior is similar? Whatever. I'm not expecting intellectual consistency out of these people at this point. This person cannot be a woman. Maybe not. I don't know. I wouldn't touch it. Signs of being a fuckboy: when your girlfriend breaks up with you and you don't even take the time to talk it out or say goodbye. You just let it happen. Well, if her mind's made up, then it would be smart to move on. It would be terrible to be like, no, baby, please. That's not dignified at all. So why should they do it when there's really no incentive to do so? I have this lesbian friend, and some fuckboy asked her what she looked for in a man, and she said tits and walked away. Grody. You a damn fuckboy. Foul as shit you pullin'. SMH. Old habits don't change, just as I expected. Vague posting is also on Tumblr. I made a poem. Roses are red, violets are blue. You're just a fuckboy. Toodaloo. I'm very proud of this one. You're a girl, though. You have to go to a romance movie, fuckboy. These quotes are either from them, they're quoting themselves, or they're making them up. So he proceeds to tell me, no worries, but I want to fuck you tonight, lol. The flying fuck, my nigga. My journal. They're quoting themselves again. Another one. I didn't even read that one in advance. Straight girls who will say, get off my girlfriend, and kiss you when creepy boys hit on you are the real MVP. That'll show 'em. Shout out to the fuckboys who think women don't deserve more of a say, or all of it, in whether or not an embryo is aborted. Call me when you're told you have to do something where your life and body are irrevocably changed by absolutely anything. Call me when someone tells you that you have to grow a human being. I don't tell you what to do with your sperm. You can't tell me what to do with my eggs. Men are not affected by pregnancy. Hashtag my body, my choice, and that will be on the poll for next week's reading. You are just a bundle of sunshine, aren't you? You're such a great person. It's an embryo, and then it's a human being. It's an embryo, then it's a human being. You know, they're calling it an embryo. This girl's calling it an embryo, and then I have to grow a human being. Well, which is it? Men are not affected by pregnancy. Yeah, it's not like that's half of his genetic code in that kid. No, not at all. They're not affected by it. Nope. The fuckboy tag here on Tumblr is making my day so much better. Sorry for spam. I'm sorry that I have had to read that. You fuck. Oh, boy. Things that the word fuckboy refer to. A boy you don't fuck with. An ex who had you fucked up. A boy you'd never date. A word that is AAVE, as in made by black people. A word that I rarely ever use anymore because it has been ruined. And this is coming from a person with a brony icon. She and her pronouns. I'm blank. Call me Barry. I'm in the class of 2019. That means this person is a freshman in high school. Or college. I don't know. Agnes Scott. That sounds like a high school name. Things fuckboy isn't. A slur for trans men with a bunch of question marks at the end. Created by white people. A skeleton war, whatever the fuck. Meant for white people to use. Honestly, you make it sound lame and forced. Rant. We can't have shit. No one can have anything. Get over it. And some gay guy posing in these weird mom jeans in front of his camera on his bed. Highly disturbing. Alright, let's call it there. Anyway, it's been good. Thanks for sending in your questions. Thanks for doing what you guys do. You stay awesome. And don't forget to check out the interview that I did over on therightstuff.biz. Again, that's linked below. So, Tumblristas episode 11 is out on Thursday, as always. And this show will be back with episode 32 next week. And until then, take care.